If you could think back with me to December of 2012, I'd like to envision a scenario in your mind real fast. Sandy Hook Elementary. You know as well as I know, this elementary school where 20 innocent lives of kindergartners and first graders were taken by a gunman who got this gun and went to the elementary school and killed 26 total lives, 20 first graders and kindergartners, and 6 faculty. Tragedy, absolute tragedy. Another scenario was in Colorado at the movie theater that was airing the midnight premiere of Dark Knight Rises, the new Batman movie, where an enraged gunman came in and killed 12 people and injured 50, just by spraying an assault rifle on the crowd. And then the classic example of Columbine High School back in 1998, where 15 innocent lives were killed. Well, I guess 2 of them weren't innocent because 2 of those 15 were the shooters that committed the crime. Now, how are these shooters getting their guns? Well, that's why I'm here to tell you that we need gun laws. And gun laws need to be in place in the United States of America to stop tragedies like this from happening. So, why do we need these gun laws? I'm sorry, what are these gun laws? Well, gun control, by definition, is government trying to put a limitation or authorization on the firearm sale or distribution by entities. It's basically government controlling at all, whether it's small or large, the distribution of firearms and the carry and concealed of firearms. So right now, what gun laws do we need? Well, number one, which is the current law, we have background checks in the system. Well, some states can opt out of this and do their own kind of thing, which they do, and they still do some kind of a front runner, but I'll get to that in a second. And what these background checks do is they mainly search for convicted felons. They stop, it's like a red flag. If someone's a convicted felon, then they cannot purchase a firearm. Just end of story. And that's the federal law. And number two, these background checks make sure that the person is mentally stable to use a gun and will make the right decision when come to a moment where they're threatened and they need to use a gun. Versus if they're not stable, where they might use that gun to their advantage in a way that wouldn't be good to the public. And that's obvious when we see these kind of school shootings. And number two, as far as what gun laws and what gun control we need to keep and maintain and maybe even regulate or strengthen, is a firearms course. And this course is 2 kind of things. It's one, shooting and aiming, like on the gun range, knowing how to use your gun, knowing how to fire your gun, knowing how to injure someone and not kill them, versus the kind of dangers that we see with firearms. And we want to make sure that the people that have firearms know how to use these and know the kind of precautions that come with owning a gun. And so why we need gun control is to, number one, save lives, and that's the obvious one. We want to cut down on public shootings. We want to cut down on numbers being taken away from those due to gun control not being there. We want to see less death. And number two, we want to see less domestic violence. A lot of the gun violence that we see is domestic violence. A great number of those. On an article that said about 40% of gun crimes are domestic violence. And I have that in my sources, so you know. So we do also need gun control for public safety and the public peace of mind. If you know that there are gun control laws in check that are keeping convicted felons and keeping mentally unstable people from having guns, then you know by yourself that you're more at peace than you would be had there not been gun control. So how do we keep distribution controlled? This is the satisfaction. This is kind of like the plan for keeping gun control. Well, we need to continue background checks. And here's kind of what I said about states being able to opt out of this. Background checks, federal law, are required to go straight to the FBI. Now, according to DeLuca from NBC News, he says that these background checks are for mentally stable versus unstable, and also for convicted felons versus people that have a clean background. And now the FBI website, it says that Michigan, along with several other states, primarily in the Midwest, are partially active to this federal law, meaning that they opt out of it, meaning their sale on it's separated into two categories. It's handguns and long guns. Long guns meaning rifles, hunting weapons, kind of like snipers, but you only use that for hunting. But for handguns, the rule is the background check is done by the state police. So the state of Michigan police looks up that person through their database. Now the problem with this is that if someone has a federal record in a different state besides Michigan, and Michigan can't see that, and there's kind of like some borderlines that can't be crossed for the state of Michigan police. Now for long guns, it's required, not a doubt, no matter who's selling you a gun, they have to do a background check through the FBI's website. And it makes sense, and it's fair to those that are buying those weapons because they shouldn't be meaning any bad business with those anyway. And also, how do we keep distribution controlled? Well, number one, with background checks, and number two, a rigorous training and certification course that I talked about earlier. So how do we put this in place? First, we fee it. If you put a fee on it to take the course and all that, it's going to be people that aren't too serious about having a gun. They're not going to want to get a gun if there's a big fee. Right now in the state of Michigan, it's $105 just to take this course. Now, also about this course, it needs to be rigorous. It needs to be setting those that are mentally fit and mentally capable to have a gun from those that are not capable from having a gun. Now, these laws, or these trainings, will kind of like help a person's discernment of whether or not they're truly threatened so that they can pull their gun out, or if they're not threatened, to use that to their kind of like knowledge and know that they should not be pulling a gun on this person if they're not really threatening. So, if gun control kept in place and was even more strictly regulated than it is now, what benefits do we see? Well, the obvious one that I already talked about, lives are saved. Yada yada. You've heard me say this before. Lives saved, but that's really what we're looking for in any law, in any rule, anything. So when gun rights activists are saying that they should keep their rights, keep their Second Amendment constitutional rights, well, is that really the benefit of the country if people are dying at the cost of the law? It's just something to think about. Something that I think about. And number two, it will not only cut down on the numbers of lives taken, but also on the numbers of tragedies that we see on TV. We see tragedies like Sandy Hook and Columbine and the Colorado gunman, and really that's just a damper on the whole nation. Everyone is just depressed after that. And if we take away that, then we as a nation cannot feel so in the bunkers. Like, why would we want to do that? Why would we want to put ourselves in that place? I think that we should try and find a way to eliminate these depressions from our nation. And also, what's another benefit of gun control? A heightened sense of security. This I've also noted on. If you know that convicted felons and mentally unstable people aren't going to have a gun, then you're going to feel more at peace, and you're going to want to take a walk around your neighborhood, and you're going to walk, and you're going to feel good about it. And really, I guess that brings me to the point of, will criminals still get guns? Will they get their hands on guns that they want if they're a part of like the cartel or heavy drug dealers or mobsters? I don't care. Yes, they will get guns. And that's just something we have to face as a country. We will have criminals and we will have crime. But is that the primary goal when you're trying to put in gun regulation? Well, gun regulation and gun control, we're trying to control those situations at Sandy Hook and at Columbine, where you have these kind of innocent bystanders that you would never expect to take a gun to school, let alone someone else's school, like the situation that we see in Sandy Hook. These people are just unstable individuals that shouldn't have had a gun in the first place. And those are the kind of people that we're trying to cut down on getting their hands on guns. And so what can you do to help regulate the distribution of firearms to those that shouldn't have a firearm? Well, all you have to do is vote. Whenever you see these policies on your local voting ballots saying whether or not you support maybe a background check, or maybe you support more or less control on people getting guns, then you should vote for it. You really should, for the good of your nation, vote for gun control. And that's really the most that I can say to you right now.